And we are here with Savage Tim. Savage Tim, are you happy with what you're getting from the sixth gun?
I am very happy. I'm definitely been looking forward to this one for a long, long time. I've really have gotten a chance to take a look at some of the preview material. I've been very happy with it. Did get a chance to run a little bit of the sixth gun this past weekend. Dragon Snack Games was doing their annual free RPG day event, and so I packed all my stuff and headed out there and got to run it twice for
Oh.
two different groups of players.
So how did it go? Did they do it completely different? Was it similarities?
There's a
How?
lot of similarities. It's another good example of kind of the newer model of the pinnacle settings, where there have a lot of the extra setting rules are already in the core, so there's not much extra outside of it. So they added a couple of setting rules. They're using a couple of ones from the core book. They're using the critical failures rule. So players are not allowed to re-roll critical failures when you roll a double one. And also, you have a opportunity to use the Joker's Wild rule, where if a player is dealt a Benny, that means that every player, or I'm sorry, if a player is dealt a Joker, everybody gets a free Benny. All the players get a free Benny as well. That worked out really interestingly because in the first combat, the first run of it, I dealt Jokers 3 turns in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, right at the beginning of the big combat. So it was a little bit interesting. I was running a one sheet scenario that they published called the one hand gang scenario, which demonstrates how nasty and mean one of the titular guns can actually be. It's a fairly good little Western style shootout. So I think it really shows off Savage Worlds combat system very well. It got a chance to see some cool maneuvers in play, and you did get enough of a taste of what the Syscon world is going to sort of be like as compared with Deadlands. So it was really good. It really went very, very well. And like I said, I got a chance to run it twice, and both times it went really terrifically well.
So
I was very pleased.
from you running it, changes, differences in the nuances do you feel in there from Deadlands?
It's interesting because it feels like a somewhat more secretive world. It's sort of more of a the weirdness isn't so obvious. I mean, in Deadlands, everybody knows that California has turned into the maze. The Civil War hasn't ended, and the history is very, very different. But Six Gun isn't like that. Six Gun, it's still post Civil War, but the history, at least the public history, is pretty much what we know about. It's just that there's more secret groups going on, and there's more secrecy happening behind the scenes that not everybody is privy to. So it makes it a little bit different. You have to kind of be a little bit sneakier about what you're doing. I mean, as for that, it does feel very much action-wise. It feels like a Savage Worlds game, and it feels like a Western Savage Worlds game. So I was very happy in the feel and the tone of that. I think it played really, really well. I definitely can't wait to see more. As a matter of fact, we should be seeing some of that really, really soon now, because today is the last day of the Six Gun Kickstarter. It ends at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, Thursday, June 25th. So if you're watching this online, you still have time to get yourself over to Kickstarter and pledge. They have made almost $65,000. It's at 64,000 plus, which means they've unlocked every stretch goal that they've decided to open.
So what are the good stretch goals? What's the good stuff?
We're getting a lot of cool add-ons. We're getting a lot of some. There's going to be additional prints for the cast and characters from the Six Gun book. There's going to be a set of cards. They give details on each one of the 6 guns. We're getting a couple of creature features. One about the Great Worms. Ooh. And Griselda, the Grey Witch, who's one of the big bads in the comic series. We're getting archetypes. We're getting figure flats. We're getting a tale of the Six Gun, which is going to be a brand new story by the creators of the Six Gun comic. Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt are going to be doing a brand new tale that's going to be available. So there's going to be a comics prologue with that as well, which is going to be a Six Gun exclusive. So if you're a fan of the comics, that's going to be something really cool to have. And then my big exciting one, the one that I was really hoping to get, is something called Fractured Frontiers. They're going to be doing a Deadlands Six Gun crossover scenario.
Whoa.
Yes. It's really, really cool. They've talked a little bit about it, and basically the idea is that there is, in Deadlands, you have the concept of the hunting grounds, which is sort of an other world, another plane. And in the Six Gun universe, it's called the Crossroads. And the idea is that a group from each side meets in that area in between, seeing one possible future or one possible past. If you've read the Six Gun series, you'll know what that means. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be really cool and exciting. to see how well that plays. So I want to see what happens if one of my hucksters gets a hold of one of the 6 guns. I think that's neat.
Ooh. So one of the cool things I saw was they're doing one of the stretch goals. You could, well, maybe at a level of pledging, actually play at Gen Con with the creators.
They're doing a special one called the True Fan of the 6 Gun. Oh no, it's not True Fan. It was the Weird West. I can't remember which level it was. Yes, it was the 600 at the $600 level. The True Fan of the 6 Gun. Not only do you get everything that's available for the 6 Gun and all the stuff for Deadlands as well, but if you're going to Gen Con Indianapolis in 2015, you'll be at a game that is game mastered by Colin Bunn, the writer for 6 Gun, and Scott Woodward, who's the guy who wrote the RPG itself too. So that one is going to be very special. As of right now, there is only 1 seat left at the table. So all the rest of them have sold. So there's at least 4 other people out there who had to spare $600 sitting in their pocket that they decided to use on the trip. I am not one of those people.
No.
And it's killing me. But hey, I'll live.
But if you want to give your ticket to Tim.
Yeah, if you can't make it, I mean, if you pledge that level and you can't make it to Gen Con for some reason, call
me. But you are going to be to Gen Con, so what's going to be going on? What is the big Savage Worlds Pinnacle things that we're expecting to come out of this?
Well, I'm expecting to see I expect to see some print copies of the 6 Gun stuff. Probably will be there. Also expected to see we'll see the Lankmar stuff in print. All 3 core books for Lankmar are now available. You got the basic setting book. You also have a scenario book, and there's going to be a monster book full of all foes and creatures from now on, which I think is going to be really cool to look at and check out. Those are all available in PDF right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in print at the Pinnacle booth. One hopes. In addition to the usual assortment of stuff, they just had a big anniversary sale as well for Deadlands Noir. Yes. So we'll probably see some more of that stuff hanging out there too. I'm definitely looking forward to hanging out at the Savage Worlds Pinnacle seminar this year. They do it every year. They do it on Saturday afternoon. And actually, they're doing 2 hours this year. The first hour is going to be all the Pinnacle guys talking about what's coming up in the new year. And then there's going to be a second hour where they're going to talk to some of the licensees about stuff. So I'm definitely going to hang out for both of those. I'm going to take some notes. So I'm going to find out what's coming down the pipe from a bunch of different people, and we'll see how things are going. Very
cool. Is there a bunch of miniatures being made for Lankmar? I mean, that would be something I'd expect to be seeing coming into your case with how big of a fan you are of that.
No, I know that there are coming for they are having available add-ons for the 6 Gun, which they're awesome looking. I haven't seen anything for the Lankmar stuff. I think probably because you can get away with doing pretty much any fantasy mini you wanted to. There's really not much need for it. I mean, like the 6 Gun characters are unique enough that you can't really get figures any other way. But no, I don't think there has been. But now that you mention it, that'd be a really cool idea to suggest to some folks I know.
Make Tim some Lankmar minis.
I'm sure you can find them. I bet there's probably lots of.
So what Lankmar mini would you want? What one would you be beating down the door for?
I would want. I would want to probably. I think it would be neat to see some ghouls. The ghouls would be really cool and a little challenging to do because of the way they look. They used to have these blazing skeleton figures for D&D miniatures that are kind of similar to that idea, where you have a skeleton inside of a translucent exterior. So it'd be tricky to do, probably a little expensive, but it'd be really awesome if they could do something like that. I mean, obviously the two, if you've got Fafhrd and the Grey Mouse, you got to have them. But I think Shieldba and Ningobble, I think, would be cool to have too, especially if you could do Ningobble's hut, where it's on the chicken legs, kind of like Baba Yaga. I think that'd be cool to have as like a little terrain piece, little chicken leg hut dude thing going on there. Be awesome.
I'm thinking a terrain that reminds me of the cool pictures that you posted from your running of the 6 Gun, and you got a lot of people were really excited about that. What's the Tim Hannon way of creating really cool terrain without spending $500 on set pieces?
Let somebody else do it. that's probably the obvious
theory.
Yeah, well, the key thing to keep in mind is in order to have really cool looking terrain, you also have to have some place to store it too. So I'm always looking out for stuff that's small, that's easily compactable, that easy to store someplace. I have a relatively small house, so I don't have a whole place to store things. So I'm always on the lookout for cool figure flats. I'm always on the lookout for cool battle mats. I'm always looking for cool printout sort of things that you can lay down. Like I said, in the picture that you saw from the Six Gun Adventure, it involves a bank raid, so obviously I needed a bank. So I went into Drive-Thru RPG, and at Drive-Thru RPG, the one section has a bunch of different terrain models, and it's a group called D20 Cartographer. This guy does a bunch of different battle mats for virtual tabletops and also print and play type stuff. So I found a bank mat that I liked a lot. It was only $2, and it printed on into color really beautifully. It came out really nicely, and then it prints out in sections. And then to connect them together, here's a trick I learned a long time ago, is you use Post-it notes. You take a Post-it note and turn it face up so that the sticky part is on the top, and use that to adhere the pieces together, kind of like little connectors, like Lego pieces, snapping them together. The mat will still lay flat when it's on the table. It won't move. When the pieces shift, they won't move away from one another. And then when you're done, you just tear them off, fold the thing back up, and toss the Post-its away. It's really a great thing to have for any traveling game master. It's going to be really useful.
I'm going to have to use that little trick.
I also use a lot of the figure flats that come from Pinnacle. I bought ages ago their Cardstock Cowboy sets, which are little trifold figure flats. Printed up a bunch of those, and I keep them in a plain old box and keep them organized. I have stacks of them actually sitting in the closet behind me of all different scenarios and all different setting types. And whenever I need one, I just grab the box and go. You just toss it in my box of Game Mastery Doom, and away we go. So yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. Is like I said, print them yourself. It's worthwhile to invest in a decent color printer. I have a color laser printer that does full duplex. If you keep an eye out for deals, usually like towards the beginning of the year, you can usually find a really nice one for not terribly much. And it's worth every penny I've invested into it.
And lately, my best friend I found was a $20 laminator over at Aldi's.
Yes.
So then you can online get them really cheap, the 8.5 by 11 envelopes, and then they're permanently in great condition, and it enhances the image of it. I love that thing.
Right. And also what I did was, that's how I do my character sheets, is that I print the character sheets out on 4x6 index cards and then laminate them. That way I can easily hand them out. People can scribble on them with dry erase markers. They can put any notes on them they want. And then when they're done, they just hand it back in. I erase them off, and I'm ready to go for the next run. I don't have to print extra copies.
Very practical stuff. Didn't even think we were going to get into. Anything else? Oh, yeah, from thinking about Gen Con, do you think we're going to be getting the Between a Stone and a Hard Place materials in print there?
Very possibly. I would not be surprised if we saw that at all. That's not currently shipping yet, but it should be soon. I'm hoping it's soon.
Because I'm thinking of the cool maps and tiles that was part of that.
It's supposed to be. I don't think they've announced a date when it's supposed to be shipping yet. When the pre-order is actually going to be going out. I'm looking at my notes now to see if I can figure it out. No such joy. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be hitting the airwaves or when it's going to be coming out, but I hope it will be soon. So that is, speaking of which, it was something else we didn't talk about. We were going to talk about, but I sent out an invitation to you a little bit before.
Yes.
One of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting another small project, and largely it's to kind of raise a little bit more awareness about Savage Worlds and Savage Worlds types activities. So what we're doing is we're going to start a new group organization. I've seen this happen in a couple different places. I've done something similar in the past. It's going to be called the Western New York Savages. We're starting something up on Facebook right now, and it's going to be a place for people in our area who are Savage Worlds fans to get information, share details, and organize events. And since we're going to be organizing events, we're going to start off in July by doing a Savage Sunday event, Dragon Snack Games. It's going to be the last Sunday of the month. We're looking for people to come out and help run games and help play games with us. We're going to be there during their opening hours from 2 to 9. And if all goes well, we're making it a monthly event.
Very cool. So I will definitely be there on that one.
Awesome.
And you're gonna. Do you have ideas of what you're gonna run? Are you gonna be playing? Are you gonna be doing Lake Mar? Are you gonna do Six Gun? Since you've already ran.
I think the first one, I think we're going to talk about just highlighting some of the different game types you can play. I definitely want to see some new stuff at the table. I'm thinking about doing some six gun. I'm thinking about doing some Langmar. If there's enough interest and things get rolling enough, there's also some talk of doing something akin to like a living style campaign, or playing through something like Stone in a Hard Place on a month-to-month basis. If enough people are interested, we can do something similar to what Adventurers League does, where every month each group runs the same scenario, and then they can share details back and forth about what they did and how they did it and how far along they got and so forth.
Sky's the limit, just what the interest is.
Exactly. So if people are interested, go check it out. It's at WNY Savages on Facebook, and drop us a line, join up the group, let us know what you'd like to see. Excellent.
And speaking of your gaming, you finally got a chance to get back to East Texas University?
A little bit, yeah. It has been a very rough summer for scheduling purposes. Everybody's been out and about and doing stuff, but we did get a chance to do another session, which went very well. It was a very investigative session where the players followed up on an artifact they picked up last time that does really awesome stuff for them, but they're not sure what it does just yet. Shh, don't tell them. Shh. But it also is a little scary to have around. One of the characters was having hallucinations that she was trapped in a strange jungle, and not really sure what was going on with that. And other unusual things are happening around it, such as milk curdling and food taking on a strange taste, and not really sure what's going on with it just yet, but they'll have to find out next time.
Their cafeteria is not up to standards.
Something like that. Always seems to happen around this little gold cross they've been carrying around that they found from a place that a ghost helpfully pointed out for them. What is it for, and why did she want them to have it? They don't know yet. It's a secret. So we'll have to see how it goes.
How is it evolving is it continuing to evolve really well from those questions that you asked everybody? Is that kind of like beginning to snowball and really drive the pace of the campaign? Or is it an overall preconceived idea that you had of where you wanted to take it?
It's some of the details that are coming into play are being tied directly back into that. So character names and class names and professors and so forth. Because of the scheduling, we haven't gotten as much as we want, but I have a few plans that I've laid out for the future. They've recruited a couple of different allies that, as written, aren't really supposed to be allies. They don't really know that these people have been doing bad things. So before too long, they're going to discover just how bad these people really are. And then they have to make the decision of, what do we do to this person who we thought was a friend and now is not?
Do we hang out with them still?
Yes. Do we keep inviting them around to our Monday night D&D game?
I was meant to talk to you about dramatic tasks, and I couldn't remember what I originally wanted to talk about. And I finally did figure that out. Setting rules.
Mm-hmm.
How heavy is it, do you find, that the setting rules affect the pace? And what are some of your favorite setting rules that aren't really from the core book?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a really good question. Setting rules really are the thing that make each campaign feel slightly differently. The thing is that if you run Savage Rules as straight out of the book, every campaign sort of kind of feels about the same. But the setting rules really put an extra spin on the sort of things that can happen. I've been a big fan of pretty much every setting rule I've laid eyes on for one reason or another. Usually they're very clever. I like the Realms of Cthulhu stuff. I thought did a really great job of capturing the Call of Cthulhu horror feel. I liked the interrogation rule stuff that we saw with Deadlands Noir, which I thought made a really great impression on me about how to use the dramatic task rules as part of the narrative. I think my absolute favorite setting rule comes from the Horror Companion. It's one that's used specifically for splatter type slasher flicks. It's called Buckets of Blood. Whenever you do a wound to a character, a massive amount of blood is generated from the injury and sprays behind it in a large in a burst template. Everyone underneath it has to make a fear test or be shaken.
And also an agility test or slip and fall on it.
So yes, of course. Why not?
Yeah, nothing like them slipping and sliding. What else? What other good ones are there?
Let me think. There's a lot of stuff that has to do with the superpower companions. Got some great rules about how to play characters. I've been also a fan too of the ones that change the damage rules. For instance, the pulp damage that you see with Slipstream, where characters don't ever die. It's not possible for anybody to die permanently. The worst you can be is you can be knocked incapacitated. But it actually takes an action for someone to get killed. I think that really goes a long way towards capturing a very action pulp feel. Compared with some of the darker ones like Deadlands Noir, where it's more gritty damage, where even the lightest of wounds is going to have a temporary impairment to your abilities. I think just having those little differences are enough to make a change in the feel.
Yeah, the knockout rolls, the getting the drop on somebody and getting it from behind, that really captured for me that noir thing very well.
Right.
The only thing I haven't seen in there really is like relationships, and I almost expected in noir something to be related to the woman walked into my office type of feel in some kind of mechanical way. I don't know. I was just kind of expecting that.
I don't know. I think that those largely play a little bit easier with the existing persuasion and reaction type rules. And also, some of that is more role-playing oriented than mechanically oriented. I wouldn't think too much of mechanics as far as designing relationships were. I mean, it's called Savage Worlds, really. It's not called Social Worlds. So
we're not going to do a Social World Saturday night.
No, we might do a Saturday night social, but social Saturday.
And the last thing we had to talk about, the exciting thing we talked about last time was Shaken rules.
Yes.
In case people missed it, man, what's that big change, and how did it play out for you testing it with 6 gun?
The big change with the Shaken rules is that previous to now, when a target was shaken, in order to recover, they had to roll a raise in their spirit check. It's now no longer a raise. Now you recover on a simple success. That means that it's going to be far easier for characters to recover. Some abilities are going to be a little bit stronger. For instance, Undead and Construct. They will only remain shaken if they roll a 1. So they're going to be very hard to put off. I think it's a smart idea. I did get a chance to play with it a little bit last weekend. And it took some of the players are old Savage Worlds hands, and it took them a little bit to kind of get on board with it. As a game master, I realized right away that I was making things simpler, because I didn't have to pay attention to which one of the figures had unshaken this turn, and which one had unshaken with the raise. I could just roll. As long as I got that 4, I knew all my guys could act. So it made things a little bit snappier. It made things a little bit quicker to pick up. I didn't have to stop and think too much about what I needed to get done. So it made combat flow a lot simpler. So I definitely want to play with it some more. I want to do something that's a bit more combat oriented to kind of really take it out and shake it loose and see what comes off of it. But my first reaction was very positive.
Cool. I remember one of the first times you played in one of my Deadlands Noir game, and the thing you told me about Savage Worlds was it works best when you throw hordes of monsters at people. Did you throw hordes of monsters in the 6 gun thing in there?
No. I only had 2 hours, so I needed to keep it kind of small and tight. But it was also a really good example of some other things you can do to make a challenge without necessarily needing to have dozens and dozens of monsters. So I only had 4 players. I kept it capped at 4 players. I wanted to keep it relatively small. There were a number of other games happening. I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to get players and stuff to go on. So I only took 4 players and ran them through the scenario. And then there were 5 bad guys. So there were 2 wild cards and 3 mooks. But the thing to keep in mind was that the bad guys were holed up inside of a bank. So they're inside a big Western style building. So there's lots of cover. So now the players have to deal with the fact that they don't have much cover because they're out in the open. They're exposed in the middle of a street. But the bad guys have lots of cover. They're back behind the thing, and you can't necessarily see what's going on inside of the building. So they had to be smarter about it. They stood up there in the open, they would just get shot. So it became a lot of maneuvering for positioning and grabbing cover where you could. And one of the sneakier characters wound up sneaking around the side of the building to the back and coming in the back door and surprising them from behind. And so, that additional level of tactical maneuvering changed the flow and the feel of it a lot. So that worked out really well too. But you don't necessarily need to have dozens of them. I mean, it's a lot more fun. I mean, come on. There's nothing more fun than having a whole horde of orcs attacking a bunch of guys,
I'm so glad you said that. You're gonna, after you see what I've written for Deadlands Rampage. Yeah,
yes.
we're gonna have buckets of minis for every table.
Buckets of minis. I'm good with buckets of minis.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Savage Tim, and I will talk to you again after Gen Con, and we'll see what exciting news comes out of there.
Awesome. And don't forget about Savage Sunday.
Savage Sunday, last Sunday of July.
Yes.
That isn't Gen Con weekend, is it?
Nope, the weekend after.
And after, oh, cool.
Gen Con's the weekend after, I should say.
Okay. All right.